So going through the rest of the lawsuit, we're almost done here. I just really want to touch on certain points because when I read Blake's claim, I was like, sheesh. And then I read Justin's lawsuit. Okay, so remember how Blake was begging to rewrite that scene and was sending all those texts about how she's not appreciated as a writer and how she really wants credit and she's never given credit, yada, yada, yada. Well, then she writes the scene, right? Okay, all that happens. She's Khaleesi. And it turns out that when she was doing the press release for It Ends With Us, she did an interview with The Hollywood Reporter and she let it slide that Ryan Reynolds wrote the scene. Well, they had to hear about that because then there was an email from Sony asking to clarify because Ryan wasn't approved to write the scene. He didn't get credited for the scene and they needed clarification. Well, that was the first time anyone had even heard about Ryan Reynolds writing it. So which is it, Blake? You wrote the scene and you never get credit? Or Ryan wrote the scene? That is just very confusing. Something that really stood out to me was on page 61, 106. Lively was provided a nudity writer approved by the SAG intimacy coordinator and was given ample opportunity to provide notes before production commenced. Despite constant pursuit over several months, Lively's attorney never produced notes, and Lively did not only not sign the nudity writer contract during her first phase of production, but never even signed her employment agreement. So without that employee agreement, no wonder why she asked for that 17 points, because in the employee agreement on set, you do pretty much say like, while I'm on camera, any footage you can use for, and it can be edited and da-da-da-da-da. So she didn't sign her agreement. I mean, something's not right in the water, and I'm trying to look at this again. Not come after Blake, but I mean, not signing your employment agreement is kind of strange. In Blake's claim, she stated that Justin tried to put in a scene in the movie that had her, finishing together or finishing by Ryle. And in Justin's claim, he says that was actually done by the intimacy coordinator and during one of the rehearsals that Blake refused to show up for. And the intimacy coordinator is a woman, and she actually, based on what's in the book, suggested that for the scene. Those are really all the points that I have from the on-set stuff. I'm definitely able to go into more detail and show the lawsuit if you guys really want to get into it. But that to me just really stood out because there are such clear contradictions and things were taken out of context. And that's why I feel like the story that was given to the New York Times was a story. It was planted and it was used to turn and manipulate everyone against Justin Baldoni. And it was trying to get women to side with Blake Lively. And I think it was used as a tool to get more people to come out against Justin Baldoni, kind of like everything that happened in other movements, and that's not what happened, unfortunately. It does show also that even during the premiere of It Ends With Us, where Blake is claiming a smear campaign, Justin Wayfarer and Jamie Heath were in contact with Blake's team and management team, telling her that she needs to pivot, telling her that they're getting bad press because of her press release, and suggesting ways to refocus, which she didn't do, obviously. So it shows that they were, even during the press release, trying to have her back, and they just weren't like listening, she just didn't pivot. And they show emails to the team where they were really expressing that a change needs to happen during the press release when it comes to Blake. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on the movie premiere night and having Justin and his family and friends in a freaking basement. And you can't say that this was because she was so uncomfortable because he SH'd her, because they worked together the whole time after. Even after that, she invited him into her trailer while she was pumping. Even after that, they worked together in the post-edit. Even after, do you know what I mean? Like, the timeline's not timelining. To have this man here because you're so afraid while you, your husband, and your bestie, Hugh Jackman, are up there laughing and giggling, knowing this man is in the basement, is like, While Blake was getting bad press in August, I guess 2 executives reached out, like Justin's team and Blake's team reached out, and they asked Justin and Jamie to kind of like come out, say sorry, and make a public apology that day. And if they failed to do that, gloves would come off. They refused because they were like, what are we apologizing for? We didn't do anything. This is kind of all happening organically by her own actions. It even says that one of the reps that rep Blake and Ryan admitted, like, we know, we've been trying to tell them that, but they refuse to hear it. They think it's you. And then, this is what I think is funny. Lively and Reynolds objected when Baldoni spoke kindly of Lively in public, claiming that it misrepresented their relationship. So which is it? Like, he's talking too kindly about you now? What do you want him to say? Like, he's like fat shaming you, or he's talking too kindly to you? Now he can't even talk nicely about you? What is he? You're the other lead in the movie. Of course he's questions are going to be asked about you, and he's saying nice things, and now you and Ryan Reynolds are objecting that he's speaking even kindly about you. I'm just so confused by it, and I'm trying. I know this one isn't very unbiased, because the more I read it, I'm like, what? Like, I'm really trying here, but it just doesn't make sense. The rest kind of goes into, I mean, they do counterpoint every one of her claims. I just thought that these were the most important, the ones in my last videos. It does then go into this whole PR smear campaign, which is absolutely bonkers if you've been on social media for the past year, because it was definitely the content creators. And if you were named, congratulations, because what? That's going to be crazy, going into that courtroom to say that Justin didn't pay you and that you just made these videos about Blake because, you know, you don't like her or whatever. That's going to be weird and probably entertaining and freeing, honestly. But the rest goes into the PR team, and I actually think the story with the PR team is nuts. I think it's even more nuts than the actual story between Justin and Blake. Like, when that man said into oblivion, the way they drag Jones, damn, like, sheesh. Let's just listen to the intro, and then if you want me to go more into that story, because the PR side of it is, like, I think it's so wild, and if you're an employee or an employer, this is so important to read, because, oh, wow. Literally, my notes were like, I'm on the seat of my pants. It's hilarious. It's written like a movie. On page 126, it says, enter Stephanie Jones, Wayfair and Baldoni's embattled former publicist and a critical player in Lively's scorched earth campaign against Baldoni, Wayfair, and their teams. And then they go in, and Jones... Ugh! That was one woman. You can't convince me that girl isn't. I mean, what you did to Jennifer Abel, shame. And if y'all want me to go into that story, it's cray. But if you want to read about it, it starts on page 126.